I think the problem, guys, is that nobody understands how absolutely rough I'm willing to get. Welcome to Cpac, the Conservative Political Action Conference. Tony Katz. Good to be with you. Much is going on. JD Vance already spoke here, and Elon Musk is now scheduled to speak. I think people didn't know he was coming. I must admit, I did not know he was coming. And so now he's coming. Now he's on his way. So I think for the broadcast, we're going to kind of miss that. But we have so much more to get to. So first things first, make sure you're hearing things okay, seeing things okay, right? Did the whole setup here at Cpac. And I think that I've got this right. Yeah, it's coming in. It seems to be going good and fantastic. And then look, there's Kira Davis. Right. Wow. That was fabulous. That was so right into the camera. My gosh. And may I say, Kira, now it's just getting weird.
I got new hair.
You bought
new hair.
You bought new hair.
It's new. So I like to swing my head around.
Are you saying that's not your real hair?
I know it's hard to believe, but actually no. At 50 years old, this is not my real hair.
Well, we'll get to that in just a moment. Hair care tips with Kira.
Oh, Tony needs some. He was complaining earlier about his hair. So
I'm just muted your microphone. How dare you? My hair is fantastic. Producer Landon, we hear you. We're going to be on in just a minute. So a lot to get to. Also, you'll find at Cpac, the Conservative Political Action Conference, the people are weird, just weird, and they feel carte blanche. They feel they'll come up and be like, "Hey, talk to me about this." Like the very, very aggressive stuff. You might see me at some moments turn to someone and say, "I don't want any part of that." I have no patience at all. I didn't know that I've developed a reputation, but I have, and I must tell you, I sleep like a baby. Sleep like a baby for it. So we're going to start the radio show in a minute. I'm glad you guys are here. Looking forward to having some fun. See, that was smart. They stole the chairs from the conference room. That's always a good move. That's classic. Okay, I'm getting a little static on my end, Landon, just so you know. The Conservative Political Action Conference. It is Cpac, people, and we are here. We are live. We are live streaming. We are on air. We're doing a little bit of everything. Tony Katz today. Good to be with you. Today's show paid for by Hoosiers for Opportunity, Prosperity, and Enterprise, and paid for by Americans for Prosperity. Sponsored by PremierArms.com, your firearms professional. This is so far very interesting in just these first couple hours because JD Vance was here, the vice president, and that crowd was not full. Now, one could take that as, does that mean there's a lack of enthusiasm? But it could also very well mean that it's Thursday. This thing has just started. People aren't here yet because they haven't left to work, because they're not going to miss that many days of work because they can't afford to. There's an economic reality to everything that we see and everything that we notice. Just like the price of eggs is, to quote a phrase, too damn high, so is the price of everything. Eggs are high because of bird flu, and we are people who kill chickens and egg-laying hens instead of figuring out how to vaccinate them in order to be, like we do for many other things, to make sure that they're good for society. And we now don't have eggs, therefore supply and demand, and eggs are more expensive. Everything is more expensive. We know what this inflation has done, and we know what it continues to do, and that could be some of the reason the crowd isn't as big in the start as I have seen it in the past. Kira Davis joins me right now. She is the host of the Just Listen to Yourself podcast, and you can catch that anywhere it is you get your podcasts. You also hear her filling in on this very show when I am unavailable. Talk to me. It's not that I don't think people are excited. It's that there just aren't as many people as this thing kicks off.
Well, first of all, I just want to say that it's really fun to be on this mic with you in person.
Isn't it always?
Usually, yes, but to be in person. Usually we're on the phone or I'm filling in for you. So good to see you, Tony. I don't know how I feel about this because I've been to Cpac now for the last 15 years, and I have seen Cpacs where get a hotel room for 4 or 5 days. That's not for nothing. But I do think the other thing is that people are nervous about travel right now. Traveling feels a little nerve-wracking too.
You think everyone's like me who drove to? I drove. It was almost 10 hours. I actually did that, and look, I had equipment to bring and other things to bring. But you think it's possible that people decided, well, I don't want to get on a plane because of the Black Hawk and the American Airlines jet?
Yeah, I do.
Because of what happened in Canada?
I heard a number of people say that and tell me that was the reason they canceled their travel plans for this week, not necessarily to here, but around. So people are nervous. But the other thing to remember, Tony, is, and I think this is really actually what's going on, we have been dispirited for the last 4 years. It's been really difficult to gather and celebrate and look forward to the future over the last 4 years because it's just been so utterly dismal. And even last year when Trump was running, he was still running. We didn't know what the outcome of that would be. So I do think people are still, they're just now popping out of this malaise. They're not in the mood.
Are you, whoa. The idea that they're popping out of this malaise. I mean, there's absolutely no doubt that this win was everything they always wanted. It was nothing but massive excitement. Mm-hmm. They should be well popped out of the malaise. They should be as raring to go. They should be here. There is a woman who just walked by dressed like the Statue of Liberty. A true story. I have it on video. I spoke to her earlier. And basically I was asking, where'd you get the dress? And I said, was it from France? And it totally went over her head. And I felt really, really bad about
funny,
that.
Tony.
It's all world class.
I think that was a good one.
See, the Statue of Liberty is from France, everybody. It was a gift.
You know what? I'm glad you just said that because I was thinking about this the other day as I was reading. I said something very witty to my daughter, very witty.
Right.
And it was a reference. And I realized we don't all share the same cultural references anymore. We all have so many different TV shows, programs, radio shows to listen to, music artists to listen to. We're making cultural references used to be universal. And I think it speaks to the, sorry to go on a tangent, but I think
it's a bit late for that
larger point that one of the reasons why it feels like we're all so divided is we're not even consuming the same information.
But to that exact point, and you might be right about that, they are here. These people, talking to Kira Davis of the Just Listen to Yourself podcast here at Cpac, the Conservative Political Action Conference, these people are connected in the same cultural universe. 1,000% connected.
No, so, I don't know. I don't know that that's true either, Tony.
How so?
Well, you and I have been talking very, very much lately about this interesting nexus of media and social media. And so not all of these people are on this. The Cpac crowd is a Gen X and older crowd. They're not the influencer crowd. They're not getting their media. These are the people that didn't understand the Kendrick Lamar Super Bowl halftime, right? But there is a crowd that does. They're the social media influencer crowd. They're getting a lot of play here. Cpac is really embracing the rise of social media. But I still think those are two different ecosystems. We are not sharing all the same references.
Let's argue that that's accurate. We're not sharing everything, but we certainly are sharing in a Trump victory. Even those of us who don't like a Ukraine position or don't like a tariff position, I just named myself there. We're still sharing in that victory. So is there another divide more so than happening more so that's keeping people from attending an event like this or keeping people from really getting excited? All the excitement we see Rasmussen showing polling that America's on the right track for the first time in 20 years. You mean that's actually a suppressed number?
Well, we could also talk about just what conservative Americans are wanting to go to and what they want to see. And there's that too, right? So it's always about how is our media evolving, and how is the way we engage in the issues evolving, and the conferences we go to have to evolve too. And so maybe this is all just a sign that Cpac's in for another type of revolution here, and they're going to have to, or evolution, and they're going to have, because as we're seeing, like JD Vance was just up this morning. He was on the main stage. He took the main stage. That's a different kind of VP than we've ever had, right? We're understanding that the electorate is evolving, and so is the way we communicate with them. I think that going to the podcasters, going to the Rogans, going to social media. Obama sort of did that same thing with the technology he had in 2008 and 2012. He definitely handed us our butts because he was very online and we didn't get it. I think we're in, Tony, my opinion is we're in another era of evolution. Some people are going to keep up, and some people will just, go the way of the relics.
Talking to Kira Davis of the Just Listen to Yourself podcast. Looking around, and certainly some more people have filtered in as we're getting to a bit of midday. I look at the things that are on topic, right? The things that are the subjects of this week. You've got social media as a discussion this week. You've got the economy as a discussion this week. You've got Ukraine as a discussion this week. What is the topic that you think is right now most in the minds of this activist class?
DOGE. Elon's coming today. We just heard from the main stage that Elon is going to pop by. He's going to come by at 4 p.m. this afternoon. And we were just talking about, we weren't sure how excited people were. That was a moment when Mercedes Schlapp, and now I was in the room when she announced that Elon was coming, the place erupted. So people are really excited to see Elon. And I think it's because of DOGE. Everybody is talking about DOGE. I'm from California. Your listeners who have listened to me fill in on the show know I'm from California. I talk a lot about the mess out there. We are adopting the language of DOGE, even in the activist community in California. Every time we talk, we're talking about DOGE in California, DOGing our elections. And when I'm overhearing conversations from people, they're talking about, we need a DOGE for this. We need a DOGE for that. It's becoming its own verb, like Google it or something. I find it really incredible. And I think that is what is top of mind for everybody. Everyone I talk to right now is talking about some different version of a DOGE for their issue. DOGE.
Kira Davis, I don't think you're wrong. Kira Davis, the Just Listen to Yourself podcast. I appreciate you stopping by. We've got a lot to get to, a lot more to do. We are here at Cpac, the Conservative Political Action Conference. Somebody needs to start pouring me bourbon right away. This has already become totally intolerable. Anytime I'm out of my home studio, this is just, you have it in the car, yet we're here. You're starting to see the real issue. I'm Tony Katz. This is Tony Katz Today. Guys, welcome back. Good to be with you. Cpac, the Conservative Political Action Conference. And see that? Every day is like, what's wrong with my hair? I think that's the whole show. What's wrong with my hair? What's our timing there, producer Landon? All right. Okay, how fast? This is a great question. How fast can Tony down a bourbon? The answer is can't. Because I do not down bourbons quickly. I take my sweet time. And how fast can Tony down a bourbon? Long enough for that break. Very, very well done. People are making funnies on the webifies. Very, very cool. Hey, good to see you. So I don't know who that is. For a second, I thought it was Alina Haba. And I'm like, that's not Alina Haba. There's no security. Not at all. 1 minute to go. So like our setup is pretty good. Are you impressed? I mean, I brought all this. I brought all this, packed it into a Ford Bronco Sport. Took my wife's car, stole it. Said, sorry, lady. This is going with daddy. Right? I did not take off like OJ, producer Landon. God, you're just the worst. Just terrible. So a lot to get to. I have some news stories to get to. If you're a part of TonyKatz.com, I did not get a show today, and I apologize. I owe it to you. I will have personally Sarah, who does all our digital work, come by and give you a foot rub. She's sitting right next to me right there. So a lot to get to. I don't want to get to it right now. So here we go. Music in 5, which means we're going to start right now. Wait till we figure out that you can actually start hearing the music in the station. That's going to be a very fine moment. Eight percent a year. That's the plan. This is the Trump-Hegseth plan to bring down the budget of the Pentagon. Now, I must admit that I disagree with everything in me. But what I would agree with is removing the stuff that is nonsense and get to the things that are necessary, like building ships. Because we don't build ships, and we need to build ships because you need a Navy. And anybody who doesn't understand that you need a Navy doesn't understand the history of the world. Tony Katz today. Good to be with you here at Cpac, the Conservative Political Action. What do they call this? Conference. It's a conference, a Conservative Political Action Conference, right? Brought to you by HoosierHope.org, AFP, Americans for Prosperity, and PremierArms.com, our great sponsors helping us out with all of this. 8% is $50 billion. Which, by the way, lets you know exactly how much we're spending every year on our defense. And I do not disagree at all, not for a second, that there aren't places where we can cut, and we can cut $50 billion. I do not question it. I do not doubt it in the slightest. I don't know if I actually want to cut it. I would argue a little bit more that what I want to do is reapportion it. What I want to do is move that over to actual building. Mike Rowe, right here. Sir, do you got a moment? Yeah, but those people are terrible. Just this moment, people can see your shirt and your waist as you walk on by from the live stream. Mike Rowe. It's Cpac. It's what happens. What I want to do is build ships. And what I want to do is build a lot of ships. And if we're going to build a lot of ships, we need the money to do it. So I say it again. I do not know if what I want to do is take 8% out of the budget. I think what I want to do is reset where that 8% is. And I don't think that's I don't think that's wild. I don't think that's out of control. I don't think that's a kind of insane thought process. Rather, I think it's the only rational one. I think the only rational thing we can do is make sure that we've got a military that can do the job completely and fully. Now, there's another conversation regarding whether or not with all of these cuts, we get our money back. Now, some people have gotten this wrong and think that Trump introduced this. That's not what happened. There's a money manager, a hedge fund guy. I think he's a hedge fund guy. And he had written a post, a tweet to, by the way, I do think that was Alina Habba. And Mike Rowe just walked by, but he was too busy for you. You were not here to corral him, Sarah. And who are you talking to? Oh, but yeah, but it was Mike Rowe. Anyway, you were busy having lunch. Terrific. The audience now suffers because Sarah didn't do her job, guys. I'll be hiring in the next few moments. Some hedge guy, money guy, sends a post to Elon Musk and says, hey, all these cuts, how about we get a little bit of our money back, a little something, for the effort. And Musk, being Musk, says, I'll ask the president. And the president's like, that's not a bad idea at all. Not a bad idea in the slightest. You know what? Let's talk about this. So the theory is we'll take some of the money and put it towards paying down the debt. We'll take some of the money, give it back to the American people. I, again, find myself conflicted because at what moment do I say that you and I shouldn't get our money back? Of course we should get our money back. In every way, we should get our money back. This is standard operating procedure. We get our money back. Of course. Well, if you get the money back now, or is it putting more cash into the economy and you don't get inflation to come down? I think there's an argument there. I think the counter to that, if I understand it right, is that since the money already got apportioned by Congress, right? Is that right? This was the budget. The money's already spent, so that's already baked into the cake. So now people get their money back. They're buying TV. They're certainly not paying down debt. That's just not what's going to happen. They're buying TVs and doing all sorts of other things, and that is going to increase the economy. My argument is anytime you can get your money back, yeah. I have a hard time arguing against it. I just want to pay down the debt. I want to do the thing that I can while I can, because while I wouldn't mind, like some people are saying, you might get some people might get $5,000. I love the idea that someone will get $5,000. Hey, that's great. Everyone here should give me $5,000 right now. You, love it. I love more the idea of my grandchildren not being saddled by this debt that's going to ruin the nation. And I would, to the extent that it is a sacrifice at all, I would rather take the sacrifice. And while my argument might be considered noble, I must tell you, it is not somehow not noble to say, yes, but if I had the $5,000, I could take care of my family. That is also noble. And people, they want to go one way or another with it, right? They don't want to admit the fact that somebody who got back $1,700 could mean a massive difference to something very, very serious, like a medical condition, to something cosmetic, like braces for the kid, sending the kid to band camp or to Disney or anything else. These things are real, and the money belongs to the people. I'm kind of like convincing myself. This debt problem has been a conversation for forever, from my days in the Tea Party. I see an opportunity to get the damn thing done. And I want it done so absolutely desperately. But I don't know how I tell people you can't have your money back. Oh, I don't quite know how I do that right there. So maybe I won't. But to the first part of this all, the Defense Department and the Pentagon, Unquestionably, I'm fine with an 8% cut. And they want to do this year over year. But I just don't want to take it out of the budget. If it's been apportioned, let's do the things with it that we can, which is building a freaking Navy. They end up in dock and we can't repair them. They end up running into merchant vessels like with USS Franklin. We can't fix a boat. I'm trying to be responsible and I'm trying to engage responsibly. But I do like getting my money back. Speaking of being responsible, that's what happens when you say men are men and women are women and you don't allow children to abuse themselves. We have some updates on that story. We're here at Cpac, the Conservative Political Action Conference in Washington, D.C. I'm Tony Katz. This is Tony Katz Today. Okay. Sorry, guys. Good to be back with you. I'm glad everything is sounding good. I'm glad everything is going good. 1 minute to go. Oh, that's funny. It turns out I'm on Newsmax tonight at 6:30. The guest before me, Mike Rowe. So he won't come on the show here, and then he's going to try and upstage me on the Newsmaxy. I see how he is. I see how he is. Guys, Chloe Cole is going to join us. We're talking about someone who has detransitioned and how serious this issue is and ever growing. So as I add that to the stage, bring that in. Chloe, that Chloe? Chloe, forgive me for not standing. I'm Tony Katz. Hi. If you'd have a seat right there. Can we steal that water out of there?
Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
Let's get this stuff out of the way. There we go.
I am ready. We have long discussed. Oh, you're fine. I promise you, I would not put you in a position to say something inappropriate ever. Oh, we're live. We do the whole thing here. We are fancy people. Cpac, the Conservative Political Action Conference, people. Good to be here. Tony Katz. Tony Katz today. That's the name of the program. Today's show paid for by Hoosiers for Opportunity, Prosperity, and Enterprise, and paid for by Americans for Prosperity, sponsored by Premier Arms, premierarms.com. We have long discussed what is going on with the abuse of children. You have heard me discuss in the world of transgenderism, gender dysphoria. Men are not women, women are not men, boys are not girls, girls are not boys, and children need to be protected more often than not from themselves. This is not a new argument. This is Chloe Cole. Your story is as personal as it gets to the subject. And your story is that you transition, as would be described, and detransition, which no one ever allows that conversation to come to the fore, which is really a story of how outrageously political and violent this is.
Yes.
But people I would argue that people know your name. They may not know the particulars of the story. Me, I wanted to, and because it has been a conversation for the Cpac faithful here, the Conservative Political Action Conference. It certainly has been a conversation for conservatives. It certainly has been a conversation in its like tangential stories about men and women's sports, etc. Take a moment. I know you've told this story a million times in your life, but here's 1,000,001. How does this story start with you questioning, I guess, if I say this right, who you are?
Yeah. From a very young age, I felt like I had issues with my identity and with understanding myself and with being able to present myself to the world. I was a bit on the tomboyish side. I was creative, and I didn't necessarily think like the other people around me. I later learned that I have a learning disability and that I'm possibly on the autism spectrum, but throughout most of my formative years, I didn't really understand this, and I felt like something was wrong with me. I started going through a bit of an early puberty and developing at around the age of 8, and with that came a lot of kind of terrifying attention for a little girl that age. And without much guidance on puberty and the things that I was going through at the time, it was kind of a scary time for me in my life. I ended up going through a sexual assault, and it was one of several things that made me afraid to grow into a woman. And I thought, with what little guidance I had around growing into a woman, that it was just going to be kind of a miserable experience. Like, why would I want to go through periods for half of my life? Why would I want to go through the pains and the uncomfortable tension that comes with being a young female? I would often look at myself in the mirror and think I would have just been so much happier if I were like my older brothers, and if I were born a boy and I was my mom and dad's son rather than the daughter. And I started to actually get sucked into this belief that I was a young man when I discovered the transgender community online.
So there's a lot in there that just got mentioned that I don't think people even begin to comprehend. 1, autism spectrum. 2, sexual assault. And then the third, not a recognition, a statement to self of, I don't know if I want to go forward with this. That's an odd thought. I admittedly never had that thought. Of all the things that I've ever had thoughts of, not that one. We often hear that children who are autistic or some level of the spectrum are targeted in this way by adults and others for this transitioning. Do you believe that happened to you?
As in like me being targeted specifically.
Right.
For
Did someone speak to you about this because they thought you were on the spectrum and they thought maybe you were an easy target? Or is there just something about possibly being on the spectrum that leads to a questioning that you might be described as irrational?
Well, we know that there is a correlation between gender dysphoria and also being on the autistic spectrum or having like some other cognitive deficit or learning disability. And speaking as somebody who experiences autistic symptoms myself, like I feel like it's clear to see the link when many of us already have a habit of hyperfixating on things, and that's part of what makes puberty so much more difficult for people who are neurodivergent. A lot of parts of life are just more difficult for us, and many of us tend to think outside the box. We tend to think creatively. We tend to be drawn to unique ideas. And while I believe that is the strength of many neurodivergent people, it also can prove to be our detriment as well. Many of us tend to be very impressionable, and we tend to search for answers when there might not really even be one there or not really a problem in the first place. And I think that's the deficit for a lot of these children.
Talking to Chloe Cole, talking about being someone who transitioned and then detransitioned, and you never hear about the detransition stories. You never, ever hear those stories. The transitioning. Who were the adults in your life who said this? You could just leave that right there. So, who were the adults in your life who said this is good for you? You should do this. We'll sign off on this. And what was the regimen, medically or surgically, that you dealt with?
So when I learned about the transgender community online, I was so drawn to it because it was mostly other children who I was seeing who were going through this at different stages of the process. But I noticed that they were all basically just like me. Many of them were creative. Many of them were artists. Many of them were on the spectrum or had ADHD, and they had a lot of similar struggles and feelings to me while growing up. And they seemed to find this sense of purpose and relief and happiness and identity through the transgender framework of their identity. And I thought that, seeing these other kids who were so similar to me, naturally the next step for me was starting to question it for myself. And I started to fall into this belief that I actually was a young man when I was 12. And I told my mom and dad about these feelings because I wanted to discuss it with them. And I also wanted to move forward with the medical process because that seemed to be presented as the only means of really treating
Hold
this.
with me for a second. Did anybody in that online world, in this supportive world, say to you, hey, you're young, maybe you should just take a breath, maybe still more try to find yourself? Was there anybody offering any level of pause at all in your life?
No, not at all. There really was no talk of things like regret or detransition or grief from transition, or even the fact that it could be wrong or harmful to anybody. I had no idea. I didn't know that detransition was possible until it actually happened to me. So I was going into this being led to think that this was an innate part of me, that this wasn't just a choice that I was making, that I actually, on some deeper level, was transgender and was a young man trapped in the body of a woman.
Was there a push to incept into you the concept of helplessness? That this is just the way it is, this is the way it had to be, and you can't do anything about this. This is just who you are.
That's how they talk about it, yes. They say that this is just, it's an immutable part of somebody, even though there's no sound science, there's nothing really backing it up at all. They will claim that there's years upon years upon years of research backing this, and that there's like some structure. What really drew me into this belief that I actually was a young man was the idea of the brain sex theory, that brains are a sex organ, which I think is true, but that some people can have the brain of the opposite sex, which has been disproven, actually. I didn't know this at the time, though.
Right.
But As for the medical,
what were the drugs given to you? What was the surgery
Yes.
done to you?
So I was put on Lupron, which actually has been the subject of several different lawsuits because of how horrific of a drug it is to be on. It's previously been used for women with endometriosis, for reproductive conditions and cancers, and also to chemically sterilize sex offenders of children. And I was being put on this as a perfectly healthy child. Because of it, I basically was experiencing menopause at 13 years old. And soon after that, I was put on weekly injections of testosterone, which I took for about 3 years, from 13 to 16. And at 15 years old was when I underwent surgery. I had a double mastectomy, which was the complete removal of my breasts.
Right.
And all this, you remember, you have to.
It is very different to read this story than hearing this story. It is a very different response mechanism, Chloe, that exists in the soul. Talking to Chloe Cole, you have then, through these peer pressures, through these people, including your parents?
No, my parents they did not want this to happen to me at all. They pushed back, actually. They initially said no to the doctors because they were sane, because they had a good head on their shoulders, and they wanted to just do the right thing for me, which was allowing me to grow up without any intervention, while being allowed to, within appropriate boundaries at the time, express myself through clothing, through different ways of experimenting with my identity that didn't involve harmful procedures. Right. They never believed that I was a boy or their son, or even that I was transgender. But they were lied to about this. They were told that it was going to be a matter of life or death for me, that I would almost certainly kill myself if it weren't for these treatments, even though, as it turned out, the treatments only had brought me closer to suicide because of the regret, because of the grief.
Now, so that's 16. Is that when you detransitioned?
Yes. And that was because the surgery was a big part of what led to that, actually. It was the point where I realized how harmful this actually was to my body and my development into adulthood. And I had this epiphany that one day I wanted to have children. I wanted to become a mother, and I yearned for the ability to nurse and to hopefully have a healthy pregnancy and children of my own naturally one day. And it was then that it really hit me that I was soon to become an adult, but I had lost parts of my adulthood permanently.
When you say you're detransitioning, your friend group, these people who are so supportive, if you will, of making this change, what is their reaction?
They were gone almost immediately. Many of my friends in the transgender community, and even at school outside of it, had silently just left my life. But there were also a few people who actively would go out of their way to harass me just for talking about my experience and just for going through the grieving process, basically. I was told that it was all my fault, that I should have known better, that I was a complete idiot, and that people even tried to pressure me to stay in the transition. Right. They would say, well, you're never going to be pretty ever again. You're never going to be a woman. So why try? What are you doing to yourself? You know that you should have known that this was the right path for you, that it was the wrong path for you. So what are you doing? Are you a fool?
There is much more to this conversation I want to dig into, but I'm a guy pressed on time because that's the way it is. Chloe Cole, before I let you go, a lot of speaking out from you. No part of this conversation is easy, and every conversation is you reliving every part of it, right? That's part of this of this thing.
And it's not always easy, but it's so worth it.
I have to believe if you didn't think it was worth it, you wouldn't be here, right? Nobody's doing this for fun. In 30 seconds or less, and I'm going to hold you to 30 seconds. What's the message to parents who have kids dealing with this or are told they're dealing with this?
Well, you know your child best, and you understand that your child's sex cannot be changed, and that they're beautiful as the boy or as the girl that they are, with all their uniqueness, with all the things that make them different. Those are not things, even though they misunderstand this, those are not things that take away from who they are. You have a responsibility to fight back against the forces that are trying to take your child from you and trying to manipulate your child into believing that there's something that they're not, and help them build their identity in a meaningful and healthy way.
Chloe Cole, where do people find you online?
I am on X, Instagram, and YouTube at CHOOOCOLE, or you can find me by looking up Chloe Cole.
Chloe Cole, I appreciate you taking the time.
Thank you for having me.
More to get to. I'm Tony Katz.
Thank you so much.
Chloe, I'm Kira.
Thanks, Sarah.
Absolute pleasure.
Thank you so much. Hi.
That's Kira Davis.
That's Kira Davis. Talk to Kester. And you have a with you? Or, you here with you? Or loop onto my phone. I would love to get some.
Okay. Oh, do you have a job?
I have
I'm not gonna lie.
Okay.
Can we talk to Mrs. Can we talk about women in combat at 1 o'clock?
At 106.
106:14. Okay. If he doesn't now, he so 106.
I have done many interviews in my life. I've done a ton of interviews in my I have never not been able to look at somebody I'm interviewing. That has never happened.
See you in 15.
Listening to that story, watching that girl, that is a first. That is an absolute first for me.
I know people who are outwardly transitioning their children at 9 years. Two of them are
I make no bones. I make no apologies for my statements that men are not women and women are not men, boys are not girls and girls are not boys. This is child abuse. People are out there proactively abusing their children. You have parts of society that want you to abuse their children. Lady Gaga is wrong. Hollywood is wrong. It's an obscenity in every single way. It's an obscenity. And it's not just Hollywood. It's happening in middle America as well. In my, dear God, in my life, I have never had to turn away from a guest because I couldn't witness it. I can't fathom it. I can't rationalize it. I can't. I think it was Larry. Oh, Larry, you should be here, man. Larry Hedman, one of the OGs of my radio life. First of all, you should be here, man. That was, if I could take the next 5 minutes and say nothing, I would. That was something. I'm going to go back and listen to that. I'm sorry we had a little bit of the music playing. We'll get Landon. We're going to need the radio part of that. Actually, we're going to need every segment emailed to me so we can match it up because I had some music playing on StreamYard during the start of her interview. So we'll just use the radio feed and you shouldn't have any problem matching it up. And we'll get that out there. Because of the way I'm doing the cameras, I'm not using a switcher. They're both into the laptop. So when I move cameras, it changes the angle. So I didn't close up on her. You might be able to still do that. She goes more in depth than I thought she would. She goes hard.
Road is how it's pronounced, and that's your 106.
Okay. All right. I guess we'll be professionals. I guess we will be professionals. So with that, I'm really glad you guys are all here. I hope you enjoyed the interview. I am on tonight. I'm scheduled to be on tonight on Newsmax at 6:30. I might be on earlier as well. Newsmax has got a setup this year, not Fox. Again, Fox is not here, and I thought that was all patched up. Not here, not even a Fox Nation reference, but Newsmax. They are here. So I will be, they built the whole stage. So I'll be on the Newsmax stage with everybody tonight, maybe this afternoon, maybe this evening. I was in an interview. I'm sorry. And I will get that to you. We're coming back to the radio show right now, and then we're going to take the break. I'm going to let my laptop charge and hopefully get all caught up, because I would like to stream all 3 hours if I could. Come back to the show, guys. I was commenting to everybody on the live stream, YouTube, X, Facebook, Facebook, Tony Katz Radio, YouTube, Tony Katz, Twittix at Tony Katz, that I have done many, many interviews in my life, guys. I have never had to look away from somebody I was speaking to a guest, because their story was so horrific and I felt so awful I couldn't take it. That's never at Chloe Cole's story. I was talking to everybody during the break there on the stream. I'm like, I've never experienced that. Something else. And we'll have her back and we'll get more into this and maybe find some other people who've been through this. Today's show paid for by Hoosiers for Opportunity, Prosperity, and Enterprise, and paid for by Americans for Prosperity, sponsored by PremierArms.com. We're here at Cpac, the Conservative Political Action Conference. Much more to get to. This is Tony Katz today. Beautiful. Guys, we're going to take the break for a while and get back to it after all the commercial breaks or the radio breaks. So just keep it right here. Appreciate you guys. Okay, now you have sound. Tell me you have sound now. Maybe tell me, do you have sound? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Tommy, can you hear me? Okay. So a couple things. The watch right here that you didn't hear, this is Tudor right here. This is the people who do Rolex, do Tudor. And so this is kind of like they consider baby Rolex, but Tudor makes some very cool things, including the Bronze Bay. This is the Advisor, which I love this watch because it has a built-in alarm clock, and that's why I was doing this. Ding, 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 ding. Literally what it sounds like. It's hitting a bell. And we're doing this because we're going to have a bunch of people on, and I wanted to catch them both. Let's swing that one that way. That's to the left, by the way. Shh, to the left. Yeah, okay. Just keep swinging. Keep swinging. Just keep swinging. And let's bring her over here, and let's bring your chair over there, and we're going to sit her down right here. So, and you guys were hanging out with Chef Gruel. That's okay. Okay, now I got that right. There you are. All right. Look at me. I'm doing cameras. What is it? Honestly, is there anything I don't do? And the answer is no. No, ma'am.
I think you do it all.
There is not. Honestly, you look like a star. I'm not gonna lie.
Aww.
Do you
You mean
want
I
me to
don't look
refer-
like a combat paratrooper?
I can't. Do I refer to you as Colonel? I would assume I do based on the card, but I want to double check.
You can.
There it is. Done. Done and done and done. Hey, producer Landon, let's start a show. %, as we discussed earlier. This is where President Trump and Defense Secretary Hegseth are discussing cuts, $50 billion a year. $50 billion a year in cuts. The question is, can we afford the cuts? Yes or no? Meaning that you want to reduce 8%, that's fine. You want to find places where you've got the fraud and the abuse and the waste, that's fine. But we don't build ships anymore. We can't repair them. What exactly do we need to do to get up to snuff in cyber capabilities on a military level? Exactly how should we be approaching training for this new world, and who should be training? Tony Katz. Tony Katz today. Great to be with you. Find everything I do at TonyKatz.com. Today's show paid for by Hoosiers for opportunity, prosperity, and enterprise, and paid for by Americans for Prosperity, helping us get here to Cpac and Premier Arms. This is your firearms dealer, PremierArms.com. Incredible stuff, incredible people. Tell them I sent you. The Lieutenant Colonel joins us right now, Samantha Narove. Your group and your purpose, if you will, amongst many, many other purposes, is that when we talk about the military, Colonel, and we discuss changes that are necessary, one of the big conversations for Pete Hegseth's confirmation was women in the military. Should women be serving on the front line? Should they be in the combat roles? So you have taken now, being somebody who has served, and I want to get into your work within the military, to having a discussion about this where I want to know if I have it right, that you're trying to thread the needle in whether or not Pete Hegseth is right or wrong by saying he's right, but I think here's how it should be done. So let's start with your history. When did you serve in the military? And I know paratrooper was amongst the things.
Oh, thank you for having me on, Tony. So I served in the military for 25 years. I was in Operation Desert Storm. I was in the Global War on Terror. I did Operation Iraqi Freedom. And women in combat has always been an issue. In 1988, when I first came in the military, I would not think that in 2024, we were talking about the female issue. Should women be in combat units or should they not?
Now, is that because you thought it would be solved, or you thought there would be an answer? I mean, meaning that like people would be like, okay, we're used to this, or we would emphatically say yes or no?
I thought we would get to the point where it became a non-issue, that not only would we have an answer, that answer would then become a solution. And once we had a solution, it would become a non-issue, which is where it needs to go. We need to stop having the conversation about women in combat units and talk about soldiers in combat units. We need to have one physical standard, because that is the root of the issue and the root of the problem is physical standards. If women have a different physical standard than men, then can they or will they perform at the same level?
So, amongst those who may have missed what she's saying, if you're a rational person, your argument, Colonel, is that we have a standard in the military. You either match the standard or you don't in these combat roles. If you don't, you're not in a combat role. For those people who are irrational and are the same kind of people who hate on J.K. Rowling for noticing that men are not women and women are not men, you are a despicable, low-life anti-feminist, Colonel, and there's a place in hell for you. I understand what just got said there, right?
And every time I hear that said about me, I say thank you for the compliment, because that is exactly what the opposition says in these issues. And they try to make it something it isn't. What the military is a lethal fighting force. If we have one standard, which we do not right now, that needs to change. And I think under Secretary Hegseth, that can change. I've worked closely with him in the past. My husband has worked closely with him. And even on this issue, he and I have talked about this. And I know he is definitely looking at, and you heard it in his confirmation hearings, he's looking at studies to make sure we are focused on the lethality of the military and not where women are serving and where they are not.
Talking to the Colonel, Samantha Nerove, Nerove. What is the name of the group? I couldn't read that perfectly on the card. What is the name of the group?
That's World Strat. My husband, Jim Hansen, and I founded World Strat to work national security issues. He's Army Special Forces. I was an Army paratrooper, and might have put the boots on the shelf, but the old paratrooper in both of us never goes away.
So you're out there making the argument that yes, women should not be in the combat roles, but only if they can't meet the standard. Are you also advocating for a change of the standard?
I'm absolutely advocating for the change of the standard. With one standard, then whoever passes the physical standards is then in the units that require those standards. Because let's get real about this. A combat unit, say combat infantry, these are guys who've got a ruck on their back, they're carrying their weapons, and they're door knockers, right? Door to door. I think that has a different physical implication than maybe a computer programmer who is going to be focused on a different mission in a different place. So do I need my computer programmers looking like honor guard soldiers? I don't think so.
But the question is, you say, if you believe in changing the standard, do you believe that the standard should be lowered in any way, shape, or form?
No. What I think is not about raising the standard or lowering the standard. I think that the standards need to be assessed based on the units. What does a unit actually
Gotcha. I
need?
want to make sure I was following. Keep
Yeah.
going. Now, bring it home.
Okay. What does a unit actually need to accomplish their mission? Yep. Do they need to be stronger? Are they lifting heavy things and throwing them up in a truck? Are they, moving pallets?
So you're in a much more nuanced spot. You're saying it is absolutely possible that different units have different needs, so we should engage different standards across the board for that unit. We should do much more drill down into that specificity. Are you saying that right now today's Pentagon doesn't drill down into that specificity?
They do not. Our military does not look at that. What they look at is there's a female standard and there's a male standard. There's an age. Even the standards, as you get older, you might have to do fewer push-ups. Well, that's in my opinion, that's ridiculous. Because if you're serving in the unit, it doesn't matter how old you are. It doesn't matter what gender you are. What matters is, can you do the job that's required of you? And back in the day, I applied to Ranger School 17 times. Now, when I say back in the day, this is way back in the day. And
I love how you said that. I'm not going to put my age out there, America. I'm just going to say back in the day and leave it at that. And you all figure it out. You're kind of daring people to guess your age, and then you'll hit them if they get it wrong.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Make sure I understood.
Ask me, and I'll make sure that you don't ask a second time.
Okay.
But yeah, sure. I was on the fourth plane that went over to, it wasn't even Desert Shield yet, that then became Desert Storm, because we went early. I was on I was in an airborne unit at Fort Bragg. We got the call that Saddam had invaded, and we all got recalled from wherever we were. We went into what's called a personnel holding area, and we were gone within we were gone within 48 hours. We were on planes on the way over. Now, as a bunch of paratroopers, we wanted to jump in. We did not want to land a plane on a tarmac and walk off. I mean, that's public humiliation for a paratrooper. Unfortunately, Saudi had the facilities, had the capability. We landed our planes and took our gear in. Even then, there were issues about women in combat. I was in an airborne unit. I was at Fort Bragg, and I had a company commander who said in front of the entire unit, "There will never be a woman in combat under my watch." Well, he was on the same plane I was, so he lost that round. Women have been in combat for decades.
And as long as the standard makes sense to the unit and the unit readiness, you're down.
Absolutely. I mean, even back in the day, on our physical fitness tests, I could smoke almost anyone on push-ups. In 2 minutes, I did anywhere between 90 and 110 push-ups and loved to smoke the guys. When people look at me, that's not the first thing they think. They don't think, ooh, combat paratrooper who can do lots of push-ups. But I could. I was a D1 athlete in college. So it's been an interesting progression. When in 2013, when the Women in Combat ban was officially lifted, understand, I was on a site in Desert Storm that Scud missiles hit us almost every night. Because I was a woman in Saudi in early August of 1990, that was not appreciated. I was shot at. I was held at gunpoint. I had a group of bodyguards. Pull out their knives when I got too close to a group of princes. I didn't take that well.
I often have knives pulled on me because I get too close. Before
my soldiers had to
go.
pull me back because I was just like, oh, that's a fighting word.
Before I let you go, Colonel, talking to Colonel Narov, are you making these overtures about unit readiness and unit standards to the Defense Secretary, to working groups, to try and get this to be a matter of policy within the Pentagon?
I've been working with Secretary Hegseth directly, yes.
Colonel Samantha Narov, I appreciate you taking the time to be with us and share the perspective. We'll talk again in the future. More is coming up. I am Tony Katz. This is Tony Katz Today. Thank you, guys. That's the plan. I've been told that I do things a little bit differently than everybody else. A real pleasure. She's got the good handshake, guys.
Are we okay for the barbecue guys or the meat guys next?
No, I want to do a segment next, so not next. Mm.
They were actually driving into the wildfires.
Really?
Meat shipping.
That's amazing.
And one of them was a partial firefighter himself, and the other was also a firefighter as well.
Maybe finish up the 1 o'clock hour with it, the last 5 minutes of the 1 o'clock.
It's an eat, drink, smoke story.
At 1:45.
Yeah.
Perfect.
All right.
Larry.
Now we're cooking, guys.
Larry and Meredith walked by and didn't even say a word.
They're busy doing things, guys. Welcome back. Move this all around. Yeah, I know.
Okay.
That was purposeful because I need to charge the laptop. I brought so many things. I have. Did you see all my stuff in the back? I have boxes of cables. I forgot one specific cable, guys, and that's it. Oh yeah, you like that? You like the dude in the headdress? Yeah, he's there's a whole Village People vibe going on. That's going down for sure. I got some news I do want to get to outside of Cpac. And I will discuss. I will discuss in a minute. I'm just looking some things up. So guys, stay where you are. And we will be back momentarily. How soon there, producer Landon? 1:20. I love it. All right, we're just about to get back to the show. It's so strange. So behind me, right, they've got this drapery and they got the stuff and all that. Well, above is and to the back, it's all windows. So the sun is moving, the clouds are moving, and it changes the light. So it changes the whole perspective of the camera. It's been super weird to try and keep up with. Very, very strange. All right. Music in 5 seconds heard. I have some breaking news. Is that how we do it? By the way, that was a lovely turkey and cheese wrap. I had a turkey and cheese wrap, everybody. You're welcome. I bring you breaking news. Breaking, shocking news. News that will shock you and possibly break you. That's how breaking and shocking this news is. Ladies and gentlemen, it has been learned right here, right now, that Mitch McConnell will not run for re-election.
Okay, people, move along. There's nothing to see here.
The only person who didn't know this was Mitch McConnell, who, when hearing the news, said, "What?" Tony Katz, good God. Tony Katz today, good to be with you. I have people who are septuagenarians. These people are in their 70s laughing at that story. Yeah, Mitch McConnell's so old. Whew. This is the story. Senator Mitch McConnell will not seek re-election. He is the longest serving leader in the Senate, not the longest serving senator, longest serving leader in the Senate, not going to run for re-election. He will have served 7 terms. That's 42 years. I had to do the math. I took off my shoes. That he has spent in the U.S. Senate. You know, the great satirist Evan Sayet said Washington, D.C. is the only place you go when you're 25 and leave when you die. This lifer mentality. And isn't that the story of Nancy Pelosi? Does anyone think that Nancy Pelosi is up to the task anymore? You have to be out of your mind. You have to be out of your mind to think that is the case. Now, Kentucky is interesting politics because while Kentucky can bring you a Mitch McConnell, Kentucky can also bring you Rand Paul and Andy Beshear. That is a real weird mix. It's a weird mix of Republicans It's a weird mix of Democrats. So when we talk about what the election possibilities are for Republicans there, I must tell you on its face, without having done the study, like just something I would basically know through everyday research, no clue at all what happens now in Kentucky. Is this a seat that Andy Beshear himself would want to go for? I don't think he has necessarily bad name ID in Kentucky. They've been dealing with these massive floods. At last check, I think 14 people were killed in these floods, but there was Andy Beshear to say that the Trump administration was Johnny on the spot. He's never seen a declaration, an emergency declaration responded to in the affirmative so quickly and aid immediately get to the people of Kentucky. Oh, the flooding has been horrific. I know no one's talking about it because it didn't happen in New York or LA. If it happens in New York or LA, oh, sure, it'll get mentioned by the press. These are bad things taking place. And so there's Beshear being very laudatory of Trump. So there's a real question as to how that politics will go. And when there are questions about how politics will go, follow the money. Because if everybody sees an opportunity, well, then money pours in. Now, I can't tell you when the governor's race is in Kentucky. What I can tell you is everybody's going to be curious. Everybody's going to try and play. You expect a lot on that subject. As for being here at Cpac, the Conservative Political Action Conference, of course, President Trump, I think, is here on Saturday. But President Trump, in a conversation about Volodymyr Zelensky, the leader of Ukraine, talking about the lack of elections, referred to him as a dictator. For the sake of clarity, man, am I not down with any part of that. And I'm starting to think that the people who are cheering Trump on this subject have never once asked themselves, what does it all mean for us? I am not punching on Trump the way other people would either maybe expect I would, or maybe other people are, because I am like you. We know enough to know that he could say something different tomorrow. You're calling Zelensky a dictator, and the next day you can be calling Putin all sorts of names, making fun of his mother and calling his sister a skank. Everything's possible. Everything for Trump is a set the table moment to get to the next thing. Put out the thing that is, I'll do this, and then see how people react. And then something else gets done, or you negotiated, but the negotiation comes from a place of strength, not weakness. How many more ways do you need to see Donald Trump to know that this is true? If you were to ask me, prima facie, I believe that would be on its face, what do I think of that commentary about Ukraine and Zelensky? I think it's insane, and I think it's helpful to Vladimir Putin. I think it's ridiculous. I think it was a mistake. I don't think he should have had any part of it. Here's my caveat. That's what he said today or yesterday. Let's see what the deal looks like. Only thing that matters. I'm constantly shocked by the people who don't understand what it is and who it is we're dealing with. I'm telling you, I want to be supportive of Ukraine's existence, not specifically of Zelensky, of Ukraine's existence. So bullets and guns, I'm fine with. Actual dollars, I'm not. No, I'm not asking for the money back. The money's already spent, and Ukraine can't give it to us. Although maybe you could create some trade deals. Again, another comment from Trump that people are taking solely on face and not actually thinking through, because they're proactive in trying to think that somehow the guy isn't the same day to day, week to week. We know who he is. We know how he works. And I'm attributing this right now to how he works. I just don't like it. No part of me likes it. And I think that referring to Vladimir Zelensky as a dictator is a bad idea. A really bad idea. Not the messaging that I want to put forward, not the story that I want to tell. But Trump tells his stories differently. And I think that he's only into chapter 1 of the book. I'm willing to give it a couple more chapters before I give that book a review. This is Tony Katz today. I would absolutely talk to Mikey B. That could be who it is. But who don't we have? All right, Landon. Don't we have somebody at 1:30? We should consider such a thing. Okay, so I got more time to talk. I do like talking. As you guys know, I do love talking. So weirdly enough, the road got busy. Is that Mike? So you think that's Mike Benz right there? Because I think that's Mike Benz right there. Okay. I would chat with him. We could see who else was around. Okay. I love that, guys. You're getting a full behind the scenes with producer Sarah.
So if you want to do the chef guys that were right here, you can come into the next segment.
Give me 1 second to figure that out. Stop pressuring me, Sarah. No, I need an adult. Yeah, so I keep trying to tell her. She don't listen none. That's not him. That's Mike Benz. I'm looking at a photo.
No. That's not, unless he looks that different with a beard.
Yeah, that's him. That's not him. You think that's him?
Yeah.
I think that you've been drinking. I don't think you're being racist. I think you are racist. It's a difference. Racism, always worth a good joke. Who was the ginger in the white MAGA dress during the Chloe Cole interview? The answer is I do not know. I do not know. I do know that I'm drinking a Diet Pepsi because it's all they had. A lot of talking. So there's something else I'm going to get into right here. Sarah's with me. That's Madeline. She's running Radio Row right there. Did you see this? This is a real thing going on. I will be discussing that. 1 minute heard there, producer Landon. I will get to that. Okay, can't do that. I won't do that. 30 seconds heard. And then we'll come back to the show. To the program. Okay. Now that I know what I'm going to talk about, let us make it happen. Glad you guys are here. Really do appreciate you guys being part of the show, being part of the live stream here at Cpac, Conservative Political Action Conference. And yes, there is a guy here in a full Native American headdress. And it says, "Make America Great Again." That's happening. Hamas returning the bodies of 4 Israeli hostages. Tony Katz today here at Cpac, the Conservative Political Action Conference. 4 bodies, which includes a mother and her 2 children. We're talking about Shiri Bibas. I think I'm pronouncing the name correctly. And her children, Ariel and Kafir. Kafir was 9 months old when Hamas, a terrorist organization, made up the worst lowlife scumbag sons of you-know-what that God ever put on the green earth, attacked Israel on October 7th and kidnapped children. This is what happened. This isn't a debate. There are people on our college campuses, people who teach on our college campuses, people in the halls of Congress, people in elected places that support Hamas. The United Nations supports Hamas. And I honestly think I want a little more focus from Trump. Am I the only person willing to look at Donald Trump and say, you need to do a little bit better of a job for me? And I like a lot of things that are happening, but a little bit more focus. Why are we still a part of the UN? Why is there still $1 going to UNRWA? You want to talk about getting your money back from a group of people? How about the people who supported Hamas in a terrorist attack that murdered 1,200, took children hostage, and then killed them in captivity? Trump doesn't have to let Israel take the lead on all hell will break loose when it comes to the United Nations Relief Work Agency. Nah, I say we go kick those mothers in the face today. Why can't we do this? Why on this do we waste any time? And how does anybody make the argument at this moment that somehow and in some way and in some place on this planet Earth that there's an argument for, yeah, well, or sure, Hamas is bad, but there's no place. There is no place. Seth Mandel, writing over at Commentary Magazine, made a great point of this, that when we discuss what Hamas did, that people who are willing to shrug their shoulders or somehow skate past the fact that they kidnapped a 9-month-old and murdered the 9-month-old. Oh, wait, they waited until the 9-month-old was a year old? Because, they've got standards. They have no standards. These aren't even people. Now, you tell me that that's the kind of rhetoric that leads to these moments. If you kidnap 9-month-olds and kill them in captivity, nah, I don't have to treat you like a human being with respect and decency and a benefit of the doubt. I say we find everybody related to you, everybody you've ever worked with. You've got a dry cleaner, that dry cleaner's got to go. And to Seth Mandel's point at Commentary Magazine, the world wants to blink by the idea that they did this. I don't think we're talking enough about the idea that this happened. I don't think we're focused enough on stating that this happened. And when I say we, I mean the Trump administration. They murder babies. How about those who are tangentially related to Hamas get their butts kicked? Now, you understand I'm cleaning this up for radio, right? No part of me wants to clean this up for radio, boo. I have things, and they need to be said in a way that they need to be said. It's sometimes frustrating to do this job. But we shouldn't be looking at people on college campuses like somehow they have something to offer. As a matter of fact, if there's a university out there with professors who think Hamas had a point, the degree is worthless. You want to hire people from the University of Michigan? You enjoy that. You're going to hire people from Columbia or NYU? It's your company. But I'd be having no hiring policies all over the place, because there's no way at all that people who engage in that level of support for a terrorist organization and the murder of children can ever produce anything that has any value. It can't be done. Now, that doesn't mean that there are definitely students out there who hear this from those professors and know that those professors are scumbags and they go about leading good lives and speak about it. You can't paint with the broad brush, right? Sometimes you need to do some stippling. Not everything is a Rothko. That's a painting reference, ladies and gentlemen. That's an art reference. You might want to look up Mark Rothko, and then you'll be like, wait, I don't get it. It's 3 colors on a canvas. And the other person will be, that's right. That is $282 million. Rothko knew better. He's like, I could do this in 3 strokes. 1, 2, 3. Not every student, not every professor, not everybody at every university that I just mentioned, but enough to rattle the cages, just like Elise Stefanik did with those college presidents regarding their levels of anti-Semitism. We see you. Don't you get that we see you? Don't you get that we know what you're about? I think that should be required again in greater measure with what's happening in these schools and with anybody who would engage support for Hamas, which still happens. I'm talking about you, Ilhan Omar, and Rashida Tlaib, and Representative Andre Carson of Indianapolis refers to Tlaib as his sister. This is what you support. And we should be talking about the districts they come from and looking those people who vote in those districts right in the eye and say, you are absolute despicable low-life bigots. Don't tell me about how I'm being anti-Somali. Supporting Hamas is pure, raw, and adulterated evil. And if Dearborn wants a fight, I say, okay, let's fight. We're not having a discussion about policies of Israel. We're having a conversation about whether or not you think it's okay to kill a 9-month-old. And if you do, you're wrong. You're the enemy. You have to be stopped on every level. And the people of Dearborn or any other city that is supporting Rashida Tlaib has to be told, no. You're just terrible. You call us a name you want. Scream all you want. Get upset all you want. Means zero. What matters is that we always discuss the value and the openness between right and wrong. And we never once give quarter to the people who don't deserve it. The world is better off and will be better off when Hamas is gone. And I don't know how many babies they need to kill to prove that to everybody else. I'm Tony Katz. This is Tony Katz Today. Guys, welcome back. Again, just this little piece of hair right here. I'm going to find some hairspray, and that's it. And it's going to hold. I'm seriously thinking of shaving my head and I just want to put something on and think about it. I don't know why. I don't know why I obsess. It's so dumb. It is so dumb. Good to be with you guys. Right there. Checking. I knew Tony had a mix. What do you mean I have a mix? A mix of what? Wait, what do you mean I have a mix? I don't know. I don't know what it means. Someone's tell me. Someone's got to tell me what that means right there. Oh, music. Wait, is there music playing right now? There's no music playing right now, is there? I didn't screw that up, did I? Okay, good. Whew, he. So I've got more to get to, more here from Cpac, the Conservative Political Action Conference. What's been interesting is that usually about this time, you start seeing people of the congressional set come by. I think they're in votes. I think that's what's going on. I think they're voting, and so they're not here, which is strange because I know that especially in the House, the Democrats would do this. Pelosi would do that all the time. She would schedule the votes when she knew things like Cpac and other things were happening to keep Republicans from being able to show up here, or hopefully catching them out in National Harbor where this event is happening to keep them from being able to come back to vote. Oh, she was a low person. Hi, Katie McFarland. It's Katie right there. She is great. I've loved Katie McFarland from the beginning. Before all y'all's. I was the original Katie McFarland fan. I don't know if that's true. I think I'm the first person ever to say that. Tim Cash, you mean Tim Pool? I've never met Tim, and I've never been asked. But if I got asked, I would do it. All right, come back to the show. The Conservative Political Action Conference. It is Cpac, people. Tony Katz. Tony Katz today. What's going on, everybody? Today's presentation paid for by Hoosiers for Opportunity, Prosperity, and Enterprise, and paid for by Americans for Prosperity. It's good to have sponsors. It's good to have people who want to be a part of what it is that's going on. And Premier Arms, premierarms.com. These are your firearms professionals right there. Now that I've got that covered, because you got to do these things right. You know, very often, full disclosure is not given, and no good comes from not giving full disclosure. And I'm obsessive about it. So I like to share it the way I just did right there. The Dow down 600. And who knows where it's going to end. Walmart dropping more than 6%. They expect fiscal year sales to grow between 3 and 4%. But the earnings outlook for 2026 below analyst expectations. So much of this, of course, is the basic economic conversation that we've been having. But there's a question as to how much of this is the tariff conversation. You are now seeing price increases from tariffs. Tariffs are taxes. I don't argue against the idea that tariffs are a tactic, and I don't argue that there isn't a place for them to try and get better trade deals. I simply argue, as clear as day, that if you're talking about 25% on steel and aluminum, the price of a beer can is going up. There's just no other way around this. So let's not kid ourselves, fool ourselves, or lie to ourselves. Because that seems, wait for it, stupid. Absolutely dumb. Absolutely ridiculous. Now, I've been talking to a bunch of people. And then Sarah, who Sarah does all our digital work. Oh my gosh, the shadows because of the light. And she's like, have you seen the guys in the cowboy hat? And I'm like, who in the world are the guys in the cowboy hat? The guys in the cowboy hat were the ranchers who were bringing beef during the California wildfires to a chef by the name of Andrew Gruel. And Chef Gruel, I like a lot. He's got a couple restaurants in Indianapolis. Gents, have a seat right there. Have a seat right there. Look at you. Look at you, my God. Ladies and gentlemen, these are actual cowboys. You only think you're a cowboy. You don't know anything. Look at those hats. If I could get away with wearing a hat like that, the man I would be. Gentlemen, good to see you.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you. No problem. I'm going to ask you to speak into the mic a little bit, come up a little bit to it.
Yep, yes, sir.
So we've got Justin Pettit and Mike Pettit. So you're brothers.
Oh, bless you. I'm dad. He's son.
I see that, guys? That's called being a professional. Let's start with the basics. Where in California do you hail from?
Well, we're from California. It's a home of baby carrot. So our product is we feed and finish cattle on carrots. It supplants the corn, and so it's a grain-free program. We're verified grass-fed, but we take the tips, tops, pieces, shavings, the ugly carrots, kind of a big food waste concept, but we upcycle it into a white tablecloth program. So Bakersfield is where the baby carrot was in it, and we essentially built our ranch around the entire operation of that. We're 8 and 10 miles from the two biggest carrot producers in the world, which is a year-round program for us there.
So now you hear that Chef Gruel is trying to feed firefighters.
Yeah.
Gruel, that's his name, but he's an incredible dude, him and his wife. And you're like, wait a second, we could do something about this. So Mike, how do you get in touch with him and you start bringing food through the fires?
Back when, full disclosure, I'm retired Kern County Fire. I did both structure, but mainly I went with dozers on wildland. Justin's was a hot shot firefighter for 7 years. We started this business and we were really on the upswing, and then COVID hit. When COVID hit, it shut things down, and we had meat backed up, paying cold storage. Well, Chef Gruel started cooking hamburgers for donations and donating the money or the proceeds to restaurant employees. And so Justin and Chef Gruel were in contact since then, but
Because
never
of that.
actually met.
Yeah.
So then when the fires come,
We had worked with him for a while, just off and on. He had our filet mignon was on his menu, and our paths had crossed a little bit, social media, and anytime there was a disaster in California, like COVID, and then the fires, our morals aligned a lot. And so I was watching what he was doing, our Twitter feed. And so I called my dad. I said, hey, whatever we have, I was in Texas at the time. And I said, whatever we have in Bakersfield, let's clean out the cold storage. He actually loaded a pallet into the back of a horse trailer of meat and then one on the flatbed, strapped it down and drove down through the fires and unloaded it. And started immediately. They were thawing.
And that's
cooking.
how they did the barbecue. They drove right through the fires, showed up perfectly done, a nice medium rare.
Yeah.
How many pounds did you send over?
Well, that one we sent about 2,000 pounds, and then we have another cold storage where we ship our direct to consumer. I went down towards Austin, cleaned out that one, all of the inventory that we could spare, and shipped it back to California. And then our fresh cold storage, we cleaned out as well. So overall, we shipped about 10,000 pounds of meat to Gruel for the fires.
And they say that there are no good people. Well, good. I love the story. Certainly, I love the idea of helping. If people want to know about your farm, where to find you? Where do they find you online?
So they can find us at our website, santacarota.com.
Well, you got to say that again. That's way too, Dad, help him. Tell him how to say a website.
He's younger and prettier than smarter than me. Then that's why he does most of the speaking.
Well, he needs to work on that.
SantaCarota.com. That's SantaCarota.com. You can order on our website there. We're on Instagram and X as well. So we look forward to just keeping make America healthy. I think this is the right time for us. We're going to keep on growing nutritious beef.
And say the website one more time.
SantaCarota.com.
So that's how it's done. You see that? Guys, I appreciate you taking the time being here. Thank you so both very, very much. More to get to. I'm Tony Katz. This is Tony Katz Today.
Thank you for having us.
Dude, guys, that is fantastic. A pleasure. So I'm in India, and in addition to the work I do on radio, locally, I do morning to their syndicated this show. I host the largest cigar focused food radio show in America. Vancouver, bourbon, cigar, starts food all the time. Get me something that we can throw on a grill and talk about it.
Oh, you got it. I just need a shipping address and an email for tracking.
Sarah will take care of all the rest.
Perfect. Thank you, Sarah.
That easy.
Okay. Hey, Tony, thank you so much for having us. Sarah, thank you so much. We appreciate it.
See how he took off the hat?
Yes.
How are you?
Life is good.
I did not know.
So he was playing his senior year. All the years. Junior year. Oh, I'm adding a year to you. Anyway, I was backflipping across the field and he was playing. Yep.
We're getting inducted to the Hall of Fame this spring. So there you go.
At the high school?
Yeah, we are.
My high school doesn't have a Hall of Fame.
Damn.
I'm the and I don't think I'd get inducted. But impressive work. Thank you. Look forward to that. Appreciate the time. Pleasure, man. Good to see you, Colonel.
Thank you. Nice to meet you guys. We'll see y'all later, for sure. Yep. Thank you. I will send you Samantha when the interview goes on. I'll send you
I'm here. I got you. So have you had the Olmec from Foundation Cigars? Oh, the Olmec has been a bit of a revelation. That is there's the Olmec and there's something called the Axum. I'm not as big of a fan of the Axum because it's more spice than I like in a cigar. But it is. Hey, sorry about that, guys. I'm live streaming as well, so you're gonna be. Yeah, have you ever been on TV before, John Bachman?
I have, but
Yeah.
I've never been live streamed like this unknowingly.
Well, I mean, we'll make it knowingly. We'll make it knowingly. So you guys stay right there. I'm going to finish up this conversation really quick with our mystery guest. Mystery guest. Guys, welcome. I don't know if you're people who watch a Newsmax, but if you're not, then chances are you're a communist. That's how we do it right there.
There are two kinds of people in this world.
Is that right, John? There are two kinds of people in this world. What are these kinds of people?
Those that watch Newsmax and communists. That's what you just said.
That is actually what I just said. He said he makes the complex easy to understand, says Fingers Malloy. That's John Bachman. Look at him. This is what I would look like if I was thin and attractive, ladies and gentlemen. If I just had any bit of TV in me. I'm convinced.
Says the guys who are on TV like 4 times a week.
Yeah, it's been a lot. Tell Mr. Ruddy there it's time to write checks. Last name is Katz, K-A-T-Z. What is happening? Dear Lord. Let's tilt your mic up just a little bit right there. That's it.
How about that?
That's always. She's going to take it from you right there, sir. Just like that's really what Sarah does.
Yeah, I mean, everybody needs a Sarah in their life who can be at Cpac and take the books from people, because we all leave with a lot of books from Cpac.
Yeah, there's a fair amount of books.
A lot of books being passed
right.
out.
But Sarah's been doing this and the creating of video and content for a good long time. So
Excellent.
It's more than just this.
Excellent.
It's the whole thing. Are we coming back to a radio show? All right, let's go do some radio. We are at Cpac, the Conservative Political Action Conference. Tony Katz today. We're here in D.C., actually just outside D.C., in National Harbor. We're at the Gaylord Hotel, and today's show paid for by Hoosiers for Opportunity, Prosperity, and Enterprise, and paid for by Americans for Prosperity, sponsored by PremierArms.com. And that's John Bachman
How's
of
everybody
Newsmax.
doing?
Well, he was the first guy at Newsmax who spotted me across a crowded room and said, I like that kid. That kid's got moxie.
He's got something.
He's got some chutzpah. He's got some pizzazz. I don't know who he is, but get me his agent. He doesn't have an agent. Even easier.
Even better.
Gonna make him a star. He started chain smoking cigarettes right there and then. Good to see you, man.
Always great to see you, Tony.
God, I wish I was good looking just once
Come on,
in my life.
Stop it. You're embarrassing me.
Dear Lord, not embarrassing. Newsmax growth. You've been there. You're like a year one guy, right?
13 years at the mothership.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Newsmax, now Newsmax 2, but you do a bunch of stuff behind the scenes. Just as a matter of how a network gets run. I think people, including myself, look at that Newsmax 2 idea and like, I don't understand what's happening. You created an entire roster of people. I mean, it's you, it's Ed Henry, it's Leventhal. You're talking about people who have got some gravitas, got some history doing news, and you created this competing interest.
And don't forget David Harris Jr., too.
I'm not trying to forget anybody. I just mentioned the shows that I'm on.
Okay.
And it's this competing kind of interest against Newsmax as a matter of building a brand. It's that's not diluting the brand?
No, not at all. I think you have two different kinds of audiences for the different products. You have the massive audience we were able to build with Newsmax when it was available without a subscription or without the paywall. We didn't want to lose those people, and we felt like there was a need for more content. And you don't think MSNBC is a competitor with CNBC. I know it's two different focuses, but we want as many people as possible. And with the expansion and the growth of streaming services and people streaming all their content, we wanted to make sure we're getting a foothold in on that space. So you have your traditional linear television watchers. We love those folks. They're tuned in. They're subscribed to their cable or their content provider, and they're getting Newsmax 1. But for folks out there who want a free alternative, they want something else, Newsmax 2 is available and ready for them.
So now let's talk about what happened after this election, because I never mind that I do appear a lot on Newsmax. I'm appreciative of that. I have gone through cycles with different cable news groups. I used to do a bunch of MSNBC back in the day when they would have guys like me on.
Yeah, when they cared about a rounded conversation, right?
You guys have seen growth. The numbers do show an explosion in audience, and grabbing an audience today is outrageously difficult. We're not discussing what MSNBC is doing by not only refusing to learn, they can't learn their lesson. They have to do this and keep that very small base that they have. That seems obvious. Is Newsmax if you were listening to people describe it out there in the world, would they describe it as Trump 24/7? Would they describe it as more news? Where do you think your focus is?
I think our focus is much more simpler than that. It's just providing people with quality information that's going to make their lives better. And whether that's in the form of news or commentary from some of our hosts, I think we were able to fill that space. And of course, there was such an appetite for something new than the established outlets that were already existing. And Newsmax did have a smaller but established brand in and of itself, with the magazine and the website, very popular with heartland Americans, working class Americans, and we were just able to kind of bolt on more folks to that core audience. And it's been so incredible having come here to Cpac since 2012. Walking around here, absolutely nobody knows who Newsmax is, or not as many people did, or who I was. But now you get stopped in the hall. We love what you're doing. People from all over the country say they're watching us, not just on the main network, but also on the streaming network now. And so that is very great to see, and it makes you feel good to be here.
Talking to John Bachman of Newsmax. Now let's get into where the stories are and the news are. DOGE seems to be dominating everything, which is really much more the concept of, if you're going to drain a swamp, this is how one drains the swamp. Is the reliance on Elon Musk something that Americans on the political right might tire of, or is this all, if you get results, keep going, kid?
I think that's it. I think if the results are there, then people will want Elon Musk doing this. If there's a point, and I think we kind of came close to that, where people started to ask what's going on here, and we saw Elon Musk get a meeting in the Eisenhower Executive Office building with the Indian Prime Minister Modi. Obviously, Elon Musk wants access to the Indian car market. So you wonder, is there some sort of something going on here that we should be questioning about? But go back to the trust but verify type situation. As long as Elon Musk is delivering results, and we're not paying for circumcisions in small African countries or Sesame Street in Iraq, those types of expenses, when Americans can't pay for their prescription drugs, or we see homeless people living on the streets, those are the priorities. Those are the reasons. Those are the problems that Americans want solved, and why they elected Donald Trump. He told them he was going to do this with Elon Musk. I don't think people really anticipated it would be this successful.
So that's talking to John Bachman of Newsmax. I think that's the point. If you said we were going to drain the swamp, what exactly were people expecting?
Yes.
Like you have guests on. Do they issue surprise, and do you find yourself stunned that they're surprised? Like how does that
do,
flow?
and I think it's not the same thing, obviously. But when Trump ends the congestion pricing in New York, and then Kathy Hochul holds a press conference where you see a bunch of New York officials clapping about the fact that working class people are getting charged more to come to work, I think that's part of Donald Trump's meta genius when he says, I'm not just going to make a policy. I'm going to make a policy that's going to force a Democrat to come out and defend what they've been doing, which is the status quo, which is the whole reason why America is in this position where you have the MAGA movement. We are all sick and tired of the status quo. And that's not a right-left issue. We've been promised results from Democrats and Republicans for my entire life, your life, and we haven't seen it. We've seen the debt and deficit get bigger and bigger and bigger. People want change. They elected change, and we're getting it now. And I am shocked to see Democrats and the left-wing media respond the way they do, not just on the congestion pricing, not just on the DOGE stuff, but also on this Volodymyr Zelensky tussle that Trump has gotten into, and the words that he's used to describe Volodymyr Zelensky. And I watched the media this morning, MSNBC and CNN, and I thought to myself, have you people not been covering Donald Trump for 40 years? Did you not watch The Apprentice when he was on television, where he would put all these ridiculous negotiating points on the table? Everything is on the table, and then ultimately there is a deal made.
I swear to you, we did not talk about this beforehand. Did I or did I not?
Like mines. It's so obvious. And that's why I get frustrated sometimes watching legacy media. Can you guys not take a fresh approach to this? Donald Trump says one harsh thing about Volodymyr Zelensky, they're right back to the Russia hoax again. You see the same people on television, Adam Kinzinger and the like, defending Democrats and these policies and the status quo of this one world policy, never yielded any results.
Hey, I oppose the language, but I know enough about Trump to know that what he says tomorrow could be very, very different. It's all about setting a table to see what deal can come. I mean, I don't know how many more ways you have to see it. Talking to John Bachman of Newsmax, and not only of Newsmax, he is the author of Turning Point, How Reagan Liberated Grenada and Ended the Cold War. You told me about this like a month or so ago. We were having a casual conversation. And you start getting into the history of Grenada. And I said, I may have misjudged John Bachman. Like that is a topic of, I mean, it was a small, loud slice of history is, I think, the best way to describe it. Where do you decide to write this book?
It started out as a book about the relationship between Margaret Thatcher and Ronald Reagan over Grenada. Grenada, part of the British Commonwealth, and Ronald Reagan never gave Margaret Thatcher a heads up that he was actually going in to liberate Grenada. They were concerned about the American hostages on the island. So that's what the book started. That was a starting point for the book. What changed is when I started researching everything around Grenada, and you see the parallels between then and now. You see there was not much attention paid to the Western Hemisphere until Ronald Reagan came into office. There was no defense of the Monroe Doctrine really under Jimmy Carter. We saw the expansion of communism. 14 different countries between 1970 and 1980 had communist revolutions, and Grenada was one of them. What fascinated me too about Grenada is it's kind of a footnote in a lot of these historical stories. You think about the Beirut, Lebanon Marine barracks bombing. That happened the same week as the Grenada invasion. A lot of people don't know about what happened in Grenada and everything surrounding that story. It was also the first combat operation for SEAL Team 6. And there was a lot of, it was only a 4-day long conflict, but there was a lot of heavy fighting, much because of that. And I look forward to writing my next book too, but this would be great to talk more about it.
You can pre-order it on Amazon right now. Turning Point, how Reagan liberated Grenada and ended the Cold War. John Bachman, Newsmax 2, noon to 2 every Monday through Friday. Good to see you, man.
Always great to see you, Tony, and we will see you later tonight, I hope.
I'm told I will be on the Newsmax dudes. I'm looking forward to having my own show on the Ocho.
The Ocho, yes.
Ocho.
We will get there.
Is what I'm hoping for.
Tony Katz. What are we gonna? What's the game gonna be on the Ocho?
Dodgeball. I'm gonna
cornhole. Beer pong.
I'm gonna get
cigar smoke ring competitions.
I can actually be the sponsor of that right there. You are a programming genius, John Bachman.
Thank you,
Newsmax 2. Check him out there. More to get to. I'm Tony Katz.
All right. Always fun.
Dude, thank you. Guys, welcome back. What's going on? Good to be with you. We just had a very improper conversation off air that, trust me, I only wish I had the microphones on for. Oh, that would have been joyous. Would have been joyous. Carrie Pickett joins us in a moment. She covers the White House for the Washington Examiner. It's the Washington Times? You should really do it for the Washington Examiner, because that's what I said. And now I just sounded silly. I meant the Washington Post. She covers the White House for the Washington Post, right? For the Advocate. I don't know. I'm just gonna start naming anything I can. Covers politics for the Village Voice. She's Carrie Pickett. She's got her finger on the pulse of a dead man. I don't know now what I'm even getting at. I was being asked a question on the live stream. Does Newsmax have a radio division? Okay. No, but they do now have podcasts, and they do have some radio people. Like Rob Carson's one of the radio people, and I think he's syndicated through Newsmax. I'm not sure how that works. But no, if I'm going to go to any network, if there's an opportunity, it has to be. I mean, I want to do a show, and since I don't want to do the show that anybody else is doing, I have no idea if there's a place for me, right? I do radio. I'm good with that. I don't want to do a radio show and say, okay, how do you turn that into a TV show? I want to do something different. I really want to do Eat, Drink, Smoke for TV. I want to do much more deep dive interviews, Carrie Pickett.
Look, your heart is with cigars and whiskey and bourbon, ultimately, Katz.
And Ruth Buzzy.
Lost Saucer. Sid and Marty Krofft.
Sid and Marty Krofft.
Remember? You don't remember Lost Saucer? Ruth Buzzy was in that show.
No, I don't know that at all. Now I have to go look for that.
Okay. You know what I'm talking about.
You don't know anything.
Yes.
Sarah's lying through her teeth.
Sarah knows exactly
Your
what I'm
mother would be
talking
so
about.
disappointed in you. When are we back there, producer Landon?
Okay, those of you who are Gen X know
Fantastic.
exactly
Mr.
what
Bowling,
we're
see you,
talking
man.
about here.
Yeah, Eric Bowling, man, just walked by and he's tatted up and he's jacked. I think he's been having some. I think he's been doing some push-ups, maybe eating some beet salad. You ever have a beet salad, Carrie Pickett?
I'm not a big fan of beets.
What?
No, I'm not.
You did not grow up in Eastern Poland.
Look, I'm good friends with Dana Lash, but
that's super beets. That's very different. That is. I'm talking about like goat cheese and a whole bunch of yum.
Okay, I
we're
love
gonna
goat
do radio
cheese.
now.
All right.
We're doing now. You just sit there. Carrie Pickett, don't touch the microphone, Carrie.
It's not at my mouth level, dude.
You don't even know.
You're shorter than me, so you would.
Wow. Wow. You know, guys, I was going to bring you Carrie Pickett from the Washington Times, but then she called me short.
I said
she called me short, and then she called me fat.
I didn't call.
And she said, "I'm pretty sure that your whole audience, nothing but skanks."
No, I didn't say that.
And I was like, "What? I'm not going to talk to you now, lady." Tony Katz today, guys. Good to be with you, Carrie Pickett, Washington Times. She's got the White House beat for forever on the congressional beat. I do discuss you from time to time, Carrie, because you are the first person ever to say to me out loud, if you're going to actually cover Congress, you might actually want to know who these people are and say hello to them. And it was really this kind of a damning condemnation of the lack of journalism that exists, not even from the narrative level, but from the foot level. You got to go out and you got to know your source.
Yes.
You got to go build those relationships. Now you move from that House Senate side to the White House side with the Times. Is it a transition, rebuilding resources?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I'd like to sort of give your audience sort of a glimpse of just the difference it is for a reporter to go from Congress to the White House. You see, very often when you cover Congress, you have a massive building that you have reporters who can sort of float around this building. You have hundreds of sources to talk to, not just the lawmakers, but also their staffers. You have lots of freedom. You can get lost in that building, quite literally. And I'm using the word literally correctly there. You don't get bunched up with other reporters. If you feel free in there. Very few spaces where you're told not to go to. Okay. However, when you tell your friends or your parents' friends, oh, guess what? I'm a reporter in Washington. Oh, really? What is it? Are you a reporter for the White House? No. Oh gosh. Are you a reporter? Well, what are you for? Oh, Congress. Oh, okay. Well, that's nice. However, when you finally get to the White House, you have it's a cramped space. There are very few spaces where you can walk around in. You have to be escorted to a lot of places, or most places actually. Very few sources. The competition for sources is tremendous. You only come out when you're called out by the White House staff. And when you tell your parents' friends, and when you tell your friends, hey, guess what? I'm a reporter in Washington. Oh, really? Where? The White House. Oh my God, that's incredible. Aren't you amazing? Because the cachet is nicer. But the surroundings and the physical environment is a little tougher.
It's like me, the radio and the radio shows dual, and actually three of them, and the TV and speak and everything else. And my mother will gladly tell any of her friends who are watching me on TV, his brother's a doctor. So it's exactly the same. Talking to Kerry Pickett of the Washington Times, is how dominant is DOGE of a story versus what maybe should be the dominant story?
You know what? Here's the thing, Tony, is that DOGE, I don't know, I'm not criticizing the question here. I think it's more that DOGE is interconnected with everything. So that's why no matter what we're talking about, DOGE is going to be somehow like a web that's connected to every single agency all over the federal government. So if we're talking about the military, well, guess what? DOGE is going to be connected right to that. If we're talking about the IRS, oh, guess what? It's connected to that as well. Because what's kind of fascinating here is that for years you had conservatives who are like, we have got to go through these books. We have got to audit these books of every single agency. And you had these liberals, you had these Democrats who are like, ha, it's too much of a messy Leviathan. You're never going to be able to figure it out. But what they didn't count on, and this is true, by the way, for pro-life, was that technology came along and you had artificial intelligence, you had algorithms. And they said, oh, we're going to take our little algorithms, we're going to take AI, and we're going to send it through the entire federal budget. We're going to go line by line, and it's only going to take, a fraction of the time of what you ever thought it was going to take. For the pro-lifers, oh, guess what? We have technology that can actually see the little teeny weeny baby that you didn't think was going to happen back in the early 70s. So technology overtook it. And now they can go through every single line by line item for every single agency. So it's going to be a story every single day. It's because no matter what agency we're talking about, DOGE is going through it.
Talking to Kerry Pickett of the Washington Times, is there anything that you have heard that is off limits where Trump is telling the DOGE team, yeah, we're not going to mess with that right now?
I haven't heard anything as of now. One of the things that lawmakers on the left are trying to nail Elon Musk on. It's like, oh, that was classified. You can't go after that, blah, blah, blah. But other than that, I haven't really heard anything as of now.
The idea, of course, draining the swamp means that a swamp is going to get drained. And the other big story, as we've been discussing, was, well, I still have about a minute left, was Trump referring to Vladimir Zelensky, the president of Ukraine, as a dictator. Has there been any, I know J.D. Vance today in a speech here at Cpac was kind of doubling down or at least supportive of Trump's speech. Has anybody tried any level of walk back of that type of phrasing?
There hasn't been necessarily any pushback on Trump. I think what there has been really talk about on this was just more has to do with all the money that's been going down the Ukrainian hole, so to speak. And because it parallels a lot of the money that's been going down other holes. And people want to know, where has this money been going over in Ukraine more than anything else?
Right.
And then it goes back to, wait, hold on a second. This guy hasn't really necessarily been elected.
Stay there, Kerry. We're going to be talking more about this in the weeks ahead, you and I, on this show. Kerry Pickett, Washington Times. Keep it here. This is Tony Katz Today. Commercial break. What am I going to do? Of course, we chat. We chat, we share. Cash got confirmed. Excellent. Done. Toda, Landon. Toda Rabaki. So, Kerry, thank you. Appreciate it. I'll remove that right there. Oh, lordy, 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 lord. Amen.
Absolutely. All right. We're on air in just a few minutes here. And he's done for the day.
All right, so Cash Patel. And what else do we have?
I actually have an email draft I keep meaning to send to you. I keep forgetting to hit send on it.
Why are you sending me an email draft?
It's a list of suggestions for guests for the show because at some point you were like, we need guests, and I started putting them together, and then I never sent it, and then I added somebody, and then I never sent it, and here we are. And the discussion with Carrie Pickett.
Got it.
Remember, I'm assuming this cold coffee doesn't belong anywhere.
Hold on. Could be mine.
It was right here.
I don't think I finished mine. You know what? It is mine. It's got to be mine. There's no
lipstick. It's cold.
Let's not try. Let's not try. Let's walk away from that. Good. She doesn't deserve any. Shh. This will be remembered. All right. Well, I don't see. What was the vote? 51-49. Murkowski and Collins were the no votes on Cash Patel. That's Matt Schlapp right there, the American Conservative Union. He rocked the pinstripes today. He did. Carrie Pickett is actually interviewing him. She just pulled out the phone and started chit-chatting and jibber-jabbering. That's what journalists do. Actual journalists do. Oh, there's Senator Rick Scott. Right there. He's hanging out. I thought Senator Banks was around. Maybe that's tomorrow. Jim Banks of Indiana. Hey, Sarah. Senator Scott's just walking into the room.
Senator Scott.
Oh, he's right there. He's right there. Rick Scott. He's in the middle. He's very bald.
He is very bald.
Look for the bald guy.
But he's got that red, white, and blue suit.
Oh, he's all American right now. By the way, I want you to know I coined this first. There's going to be black tie, there's going to be white tie, and then there's going to be Trump tie, where everybody shows up to events in red ties, which reminds me, November 5th. I've said too much. That's a tease. No.
Oh, November 5th?
November 5th as well. April 17th. Tickets on sale now. Tickets.tonykatz.com. Tickets.tonykatz.com. That's real. Whew. But November 5th. It's going to be red tie. Confirmed. Cash Patel. 51-49 vote in the United States Senate. Tony Katz. Tony Katz today. Good to be with you. I am here at Cpac, the Conservative Political Action Conference in Washington, D.C. Today's show paid for by Hoosiers for Opportunity, Prosperity, and Enterprise, and paid for by Americans for Prosperity. Of course, our sponsor, Premier Arms, for all your firearms needs. Find them online, premierarms.com. Susan Collins, Lisa Murkowski with the no votes. Mitch McConnell was a yes. Mitch McConnell, who also just came out to say that he's no longer going to run. He will not be running for an 8th term at the age of 83, an 8th term in the Senate. He will have served 42 years in the Senate. That's nutty. But Cash Patel, we said he would get confirmed. Cash Patel confirmed. Murkowski and Collins were the big no's there. I don't know what their argument was on the no. The advise and consent role isn't interested in what you think of his personality. It's only interested if you have an actual concrete issue with doing the gig, and there isn't one. I have an actual concrete issue with R. Robert F. Kennedy doing the job as Secretary of Health and Human Services, considering he comes from a political party diametrically opposed to the ideas of the party in power. So it would lead me to believe that, yes, on that basis, he can't do the job as the president would want, which is weird because the president picked him. Do the job is a big thing to put out there. Is a very, very large scope. I don't think you have that with Kash Patel. I think the history of Robert F. Kennedy Jr. could get used against him and be a reason no. Lori Chavez DeRemer is absolutely out. Anybody who thinks that that's okay is nuts. Donald Trump is wrong on every level. I'm just done there. This is the Labor Secretary. The answer is no. I am glad to see Kash Patel confirmed. I'm glad to see that this has happened. Now I'm curious to see what the tag team is like between Kash Patel, the FBI director, and Pam Bondi, the attorney general, because Pam Bondi would be his boss. I don't think Kash Patel cares about that part. I'm only curious as to what level of movement he's going to make and what level of autonomy she is going to give. This is what I'm curious about. When it's come up a couple of times regarding DOGE and being a big story here at Cpac, the Conservative Political Action Conference, and the kind of stunningness of drain the swamp. What did you think drain the swamp actually meant? What possibly could you think it had meant other than remove the people who are not necessary, who impede doing the job better? And the people who claim, well, you can't get rid of all these people, all these lifers, all these non-political appointees, you're going to lose the institutional knowledge. No, they are infected with an institutional knowledge that is about the ensuring of the institution, not the well-running of the institution. There's the difference. We don't mind hiring people. In all honesty, you know as well as I do that you don't want to do the work of government. And if we want government doing certain things, we're going to need to hire people to get those things done. But two things are also true. Number one, none of these people are guaranteed a job. And when you take a look at Congress fighting to ensure that government employees get to continue to be government employees, as opposed to asking whether or not we need those government employees, that's the fundamental flaw in their argument. And to be exposed at that level of failure for that failure, man, the left is simply apoplectic that they're being exposed. But you notice that they don't stop. There is no stopping. If you're going to drain a swamp, you actually have to drain it, which brings us to part two. Institutional knowledge for the sake of keeping the institution afloat is not institutional knowledge. It's not. That is nothing more than protectionism. Nobody here is interested in protecting a government job. Nobody's protecting your job. I'm in radio. Trust me, nobody is protecting my job. Never once has Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez ever said, I'm really worried about Tony's job. I wonder if he's going to have his job. And why isn't he being paid more? Which is something I wonder all the time. She doesn't care about my job. When the jobs got destroyed all over Minneapolis, all over Seattle, all over Portland because of George Floyd, she didn't care. She didn't go and cry like she did faking the tears at the border. She didn't do that. But for government employees, this is such an unbelievable, awful, terrible mess. Despicable. What are we doing? This is shameful. What about these poor people? I'm not angry with government employees. I just don't care about them at all. Or said differently, but to the same effect, I care as much about them as they do about me. None of them should be hit by a bus. But after that, I can't worry about whether or not they make their rent. I'm busy on my own stuff. That's it. As a matter of being a human being, I want them to lead happy lives. But I don't want to be told that I have to pay for it or that I'm personally responsible for it. And I don't want to pay for it, and I'm not personally responsible for it. And there is no point of keeping the institutional knowledge when the knowledge is only based on keeping the institution and not running the institution properly to the benefit of we, the people. It's a simple argument. And the left refuses on this one. So you get back to, how could anybody think that there is this? If you're going to drain the swamp, what did you think it was going to look like? There was only one way it could look. And this is it. So now all of this came a discussion regarding Kash Patel. What draining of the FBI will we witness? There's a guy walking by right now at Cpac with the greatest mustache that ever lived. It is like such a perfect Tom Selleck mustache. That mustache is so good, I'm pretty sure it does porn. That's how good producer Landon, his mustache is. It's unbelievable. It is perfectly trimmed. It is lush. I am pretty sure that a team of explorers got lost there for like 7 days. That's how glorious it is. My God. I mean, I've got a good beard going, but that's just special right there. What will he cut? How many will he cut? Who will he cut? And how many people, now that the commission is complete, will actually stand on principle and say, I quit? How many FBIers are going to say, I can't work under these conditions, hurrump, and then walk out the door? I don't know. But I hope it's a lot. And honestly, if Kash Patel wants to do me a favor, can we take guns out of the hands of the FBI? They investigate. I don't need them having a stockpile of weapons being utilized against American citizens. What? That too much? I'm getting started. I'm Tony Katz. This is Tony Katz Today. Look at us. Look at us, kids. No, if it was handlebar mustache, I would have been like, look at that handlebar mustache. That guy and he looks kind of baby face-ish. If you've ever seen the news director of WIBC, John Herrick, he had one of those kinds of baby faces. But this mustache says, ladies, I mean business. So like impressive. I saw it earlier, and it was just a redo. What does she want? That Terry Christoph, who never calls and never writes. Joe, you stop it. We know we're live streaming right now, and I have mentioned your name, which means 7 years of bad luck in Latvia. Also, Finger says hello. Yes, they can be Walmart greeters. What's the matter being a Walmart greeter? Walmart's good. Fine place to work. I'm not saying they can't have jobs. No part of me said that. I am saying that we owe them nothing. Nothing. Less than nothing. And I think it's good to say so. We owe it to ourselves to have institutions of value that provide a benefit, that work at the highest level of efficiency and the lowest amount of cost. That's what we need. And if we're not willing to ask for that, if we're not willing to demand that, I don't know what we're doing. But it is even I would say it's stunning the levels to which we watch the political left fight to keep this afloat, to keep this working, to keep this moving. They fight to keep that level of government employee employed, to keep the institution alive, not what the institution should be doing. for that's the flaw, the most dangerous flaw. We need more truck drivers, says Matt. I'm not saying we don't need more truck drivers. I'm not arguing that at all. I'm pretty sure that these people wouldn't be able to handle being a truck driver. Tony, are Republicans going to learn to use the power we've given them? I'm going to get into a subject now that's going to people are going to think I'm nuts because they're look. Even with the whole Ukraine thing, I've got like, Tony, I disagree with you. Vladimir Zelensky, this, that, and the other. I keep making this argument as clear as day. Vladimir Zelensky can be whatever you call him any name you want. It doesn't matter. Russia invaded Ukraine. What are we doing? Why are we pretending this didn't happen? Why are we trying to engage at some level of causality here other than we know exactly what is? It's in that vein that I'm going to share this story. We may disagree on things. It is not that we don't love. I figure in the main, for everybody who's a part of what we do here at Tony, I figure that we are together on about 83% of everything. And I'll go full Reagan on the 80-20 rule there. Not even a problem. I'll take it. 83%, hot diggity. It's like at least a C+, right? And all I know is that gets mom and dad off your back. C+, well, at least he's not living in the basement. And then that's it. And they move on from there. This might be something we disagree about. This was seen at Cpac, and I'll give it a quick one to the camera because we're not on radio yet. Did you see it? 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 I'll try it this way. Did you see it? Did you see it? Did you see it? Did you see it? Yeah. We're gonna have words about this. This for day one, the craziest thing seen at Cpac. Not you, ma'am. You look great. And if I wasn't already married, you wouldn't stand a chance. That's how good you look. My gosh. My goodness gracious. That happened in real time. It's a lovely hat. You're very welcome. It's a lovely hat. She's wearing a lovely hat. It's a little Indiana Jones. It's a little, I don't know what's happening here, but I'll take, she just looked at me and said, I'm a little Indiana Jones. But damn. Yes. Stand next to Indiana Jones, I am. Cpac is sometimes a lot of fun. Tony Katz today. Good to be with you here at Cpac, the Political Action Conference. Today's show paid for by Hoosiers for Opportunity, Prosperity, and Enterprise, and paid for by Americans for Prosperity. Sponsored by PremierArms.com, helping us get out here and provide you this coverage live from the Conservative Political Action Conference in Washington, D.C., actually just outside D.C. This is National Harbor, which is a very, very good time. So I'm scheduled to be on Newsmax at 6:30 this evening with Ed Henry. I might be on earlier. Do we have dinner plans or no? Is we just going to meet up later and have a cigar? I think is that it? As far as Sarah knows. Sarah runs all our digital. Landon is our producer. We've got a lot going on. I'm going to share with you now the craziest thing I've seen at Cpac. And trust me, usually it's the people dressed up as American flags or founding fathers. There was one guy who was carrying around a cat. He had a cat. You saw the guy. This lady's like, yeah, I saw the guy. There was a guy walking around with a cat. He has a red towel on his shoulder, and he has a cat just perched like he was a pirate with a parrot, but he couldn't afford the pirate costume, and his parrot died, so he took his cat, and he put his cat on his shoulder and said, can you say "arr"? And the cat purred, and he's like, close enough, and they went out to Cpac. Very weird. Very, very odd. Now, this is the craziest thing I've seen at Cpac. I saw a woman dressed as the Statue of Liberty. And I said, I love what you're wearing. Is it French? And she didn't get the joke. And I'm telling you, she's dressed as the Statue of Liberty. And I say, I love what you're wearing. Is it French? That joke is so good. That joke, honestly, you have to text me right now to tell me how good that joke is. I'm telling you, you don't get that joke, do you, producer Landon? Okay. The Statue of Liberty was a gift from France. She was dressed as the Statue of Liberty. Right? And there's a guy walking by me right now who could win the JD Vance lookalike contest. He's right there. There's a lot going on at Cpac, my people. This is a true story. But no, this is the craziest thing I've seen at Cpac. This is it. If you're watching the live stream over there on YouTube, Tony Katz, Facebook, Tony Katz Radio, you can also go to Twitix at Tony Katz. There it is. Here it is. The craziest thing I've seen at Cpac. Finish the job, reads the sticker, Trump 2028. This, ladies and gentlemen, was handed to me by a lovely young lady. We'll say her name is Cheryl. It's not Cheryl. It could be. I didn't catch her name. And she handed me this. Like here, Sarah, let's pretend it's you. And hand it to me right here. And I looked at it. And I looked at her. And I looked at the sticker. Republicans for National Renewal, finish the job, Trump 2028. Third term project. That's what the sticker says. And so she handed it to me. Hold on. She handed it to me. And I looked at the sticker. I looked at her. I looked at the sticker. Round sticker. I looked at her and I said, there are people really talking about this? Like just like that, without any sense of humor, as deadpan as I could do anything. And she said, oh yeah, we already got bills in Congress. And I said, is that right? And then she said, and yeah, listen, there's more than one person with the last name of Trump. It's at that moment I said, thank you very much and have a nice day. Listen to me. I'm willing to fight about this all day, all night, all the time. No, there is no constitutional workaround to a third term for President Trump. Can't happen. 2 terms or 10 years. That's the deal. And number 2, so we're clear, I'm not interested in family dynasties. And if we think only a last name can run a country, we're out of our minds. This is ridiculous. We're now in the Clinton phase. People are bringing their puppies over. What is happening here? Were you one of the J6ers pardoned? And so you bought a service dog? Yeah, so when I got... Wait, you got to get on the microphone. Hold on, that's crazy. See, you walk around with a puppy. Everybody will talk. I only have about a minute. Okay. Wait, what is your name?
My name's Brian Mock.
Brian, how are you?
All right. I was one of the original 45 that was thrown in the DC gulag back in 21, 22. I lost my dogs through all this. So one of the first things I said I'd do when all this was said and done was go get a puppy. And this is Whitney, my emotional support animal.
First of all, what kind of puppy?
We don't know. She's a purebred mutt.
Okay.
We're guessing. We don't know.
Purebred Mutt was the name of my band in college.
Fantastic. Yeah.
It's interesting. There has been a lot of J6 talk here. There's been a lot of conversation. I'm just wrapping up the show. So we may get into this another time. But you walked over with
the cute puppy. Come
oddly enough, not the craziest thing I've seen.
No.
Man with a dog, right? That's just a normal thing.
Sure.
But Cpac is a very interesting place. Just really quick. You were in the jail. You hear about the pardon.
Well, I was actually, so I was in the gulag initially, tortured by my government down here. I mean, I was sprayed, beaten, thrown into solitary for over 100 days because I demanded my discovery. I managed to get free. I was one of the only guys that made bond, fired my attorney, represented myself, long, crazy story. I leaked a bunch of the information that led to some of these investigations of Jan 6. So the stuff that got Christopher Wray back into.
We're going to.
Oh, yeah.
I gotta close the show.
Yeah,
we're gonna talk more about this.
I got crazy stuff. So
there are stories.
Yeah,
guys, find everything at TonyKatz.com. Day 2 of Cpac will be here tomorrow, and the videos you can find those at TonyKatz.com. This is Tony Katz today. That is.
Yeah.
We're live streaming as well, but that is something.
It's the. So here's they initially didn't give us any of our discovery when we were in the gulag. Because I was representing myself, I kept going into court and having these hearings. And I'd say, I don't have my discovery. And then they would say, the prosecution would be, no, he has it. And I'd be like, no, I don't. And say, we'll talk to the jail and figure out why he doesn't have it. And this would go on week after week after week. Meanwhile, I'm sitting in solitary, getting tortured by my government. And, anything longer than 15 days by international standards is considered torture. And so I'm going crazy in there. You can't not go insane while you're sitting in solitary. And so it got to the point that he called the general counsel in to the hearing to explain why I didn't have my discovery. So 30 minutes before my hearing, all of a sudden my discovery shows up. I sign off on the laptop and, we gave it to him. Oopsies, human error. He didn't get it. Well, the whole goal was to get us to plead out, right? And say that Trump did it, right? Trump made me do it. He's a bad man. So they had a 30 to 36 month plea deal on the table. I wasn't going to sign off on it. And I said, Your Honor, I'm being tortured. My options are to continue being tortured or take the unfair trial.
Hold on one second.
Yeah.
Landon, I'm going to disconnect from you. You don't need anything else from me. Okay, record this. You ready? I just got to do something for my station. Everybody hang on. We're going to finish this. This is incredible. Stay right there.
Oh, it gets better.
Tomorrow on Tony Katz in the Morning News, day 2 from the Conservative Political Action Conference. Tony Katz in the Morning News, 6 to 9 a.m. right here on 93 WIBC. That's how you do a tease, everybody. Talk to you about it later, Landon.
There you go.
So finish up the story.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to vet you, but I do my due diligence. All right, that's how pros do it. So anyway, you get this discovery.
So I get. So I told them to set the trial. They set the trial date. 36 business hours after he sets that, they move me back into the Jan 6 pod with the rest of the guys. So the whole goal was to get us to either plead out or take the unfair trial. And so then they opened up the database, the entire evidence.com global discovery to us, like everything, unfettered access. So I get in and start digging, and I barely left my cell. I'd come out to eat, and that was about it. And so I'm in there pouring through this. I've seen more video than damn near anybody in the world about Jan 6. This literally was a complete setup. Everything you've seen on TV is an utter lie. I've seen the videos. I can get you the videos of them opening fire on the crowd while they're peacefully assembled. We have the undercovers that were there. I was the one that leaked that information out to the public. The information about Nancy Pelosi corroborating with Milley, with Schumer, with the FBI to set this up and put and make Chief Sund the fall guy in this. They set up the Capitol Police and us in the process. The Metro PD were the ones that started the violence on January 6th. We have proof. Unfettered, 100%.
Now, this is where I'm going to stop because I want to go off air. I want to look at everything that you put out there, and then I'd be able to ask the questions properly. But that's a cute puppy.
She's an adorable puppy. Yeah.
Right?
So yeah,
even if we can't do it tomorrow, let's follow up on the story and then let's dig in because I don't mind digging in.
Yeah. So one of the things I'm here for, I actually have a meeting with Oversight tomorrow. It's the first meeting with their council. I've been here for the last couple of weeks since I got the pardon. My goal was to get an actual investigation because I've seen the evidence.
Right.
So I've been sitting here fighting for that. I just had a conversation with Comer earlier. Supposed to be in with Loudermilk's office. I've actually spoke with a number of different ones. So we're doing things.
All right.
That's more why I'm here than Cpac was happening.
Right.
I would have been here anyway. So I was like, let's go to Cpac because why not?
Well, I'm glad you sat down and said hello, and we're going to talk some more. I'm
glad I had the cute puppy.
And I'm glad you're out for sure.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Right. I don't think I'd have a reason to think otherwise.
Yeah. Appreciate that. She'll do all the things and make it happen. It's good having.
Appreciate that. Let me get back to my audience here.
Thing.
Thank you, man. Guys, I appreciate you being here. Oh, there's a lot to discuss. A lot to discuss. But we'll do that tomorrow. We'll have day 2 from the Conservative Political Action Conference. Glad you guys are here. I will catch you tomorrow, y'all. That's my plan. Y'all take care.